is there going to be a pattern for tonight?
There's no pattern. Michael's actually emailed me and asked me that too, because you're probably confused because I said to have printer paper and I said to have transfer paper, but there is no pattern. We are going to make our own pattern. So don't stress, just make sure you have those two items and you'll be able to do the snowflake. So that said, I'm gonna go ahead and go over really quickly what I have here in front of me to make sure you guys have all the supplies you need. So I have a 10 by 10 canvas. So any size canvas is fine. Really for this, it can kind of be scaled up and scaled down, and you'll see why when we get to that part, but any size canvas is fine. But like I said, I have a 10 by 10. I've got my palette paper here, which if you're not familiar with it, it's just like a book of wax coated paper, and it's really great for mixing your paint on. It doesn't get wrinkly, it stays nice and flat. But of course, if you have like a styrofoam plate or whatever you like to put your paint on, that's good too. I've got some paper towels, a little water basin here for cleaning my brushes. Tonight I have a Craft Smart variety set. So this is just this black one. I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact name, but Michael's has a ton, and Craft Smart in general have a ton of great variety sets. So as long as you're using similar to this, we're going to be using a round brush and a flat brush, and that's really all we'll be using. So you've got like a medium to small round or liner brush and some sort of flat brush or angled brush, that's good too. Just something for base coating. These are really the two brushes that we're going to be using tonight. So just make sure you have two brushes that look kind of like these. If they're not exactly the same, that's okay. I have a pencil with me. I've just got a little bit of tape. Any tape is fine. Painter's tape, Scotch tape, whatever you've got. I've got some stencil tape here. Like I said, I've got some transfer paper. So if you're not familiar with transfer paper, what this is, this is made by FolkArt, which is our brand. And it has sort of like a chalky coating on one side. And so what happens is when you have some sort of template and you put the chalky coating down and you trace the template, excuse me, the chalky substance gets transferred to your canvas. And so you can see your image right on your canvas. And I see it popping up. No, there's no printouts. Don't worry, you haven't missed anything. You don't need a printer. We're not printing anything. And last but not least, I have just some printer paper here. So I have like Xerox copy paper. Any paper is fine as long as it's about this big, or as long as it's, you know, comparable size to your canvas. Don't stress at all. And then as always, we are using our very favorite paints. We are going to be using our FolkArt acrylic paints tonight. And we have some variety. We have some special formulas we're going to be using to make it super shiny and sparkly. So starting, I've got just the regular acrylic formula of Wicker white. So any white acrylic paint is fine. I have Wicker white. And then I have some navy blue or galaxy blue or midnight blue. Any sort of dark blue is fine. This is going to be the background you can see. And then I've got some Dragonfly Glaze. So if you're not familiar with Dragonfly Glaze, this is made by FolkArt. This is a top coat. So what it does is you can put it on top of any paint, any color, any sort of acrylic paint you have, and it makes it iridescent. It gives it sort of a color shifting sort of look. So the one I have tonight is red, violet, blue. So what that means is it shifts from red to violet to blue. So when you move it in the light, as you can see here in this painting, the color completely shifts depending on the way the light's hitting it, which is so fun. So this comes in a bunch of different colors. I have sort of the cooler ones, but there's like green, gold, blue, violet, green, blue. Like there's all different varieties you can choose from. So and there's full spectrum, which is like rainbow. So that's super fun too. But again, tonight I've got red, violet, blue. And then also another awesome formula we have is our color shift. So this is kind of similar to the Dragonfly Glaze, which I just showed you. But this is a paint, whereas the Dragonfly Glaze is a top coat. So this goes on top of paint. You'll see it's clear when it comes out. This goes on top of paint. This color shift is paint. So it's kind of has a similar effect. So what this does is it shifts between two colors. So we have the aqua colors, which you can see here in some of the colorful parts. This is the color shift. So again, these shift as well. But we've got our aqua flash, which is this really pretty color here. We've got our purple flash, which is a really nice bright purple color. And then we've got blue flash. So you can see here, this is like a really nice blue. This one kind of switches from blue to purple. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. This one kind of switches from purple to blue. It's more purple, obviously. And then this one switches from like a green to aqua, like a gold almost. It's really pretty. All right.
Now, Jessie, people are curious if they can't get the Dragonfly Glaze, is there a substitute, or, you know, what's something they could do instead?
Yeah, so the Dragonfly Glaze, as you can see here, is the background. That's what's making it super shiny. So if you don't have Dragonfly Glaze, you can totally use like a blue metallic. I think that would work really well. Or maybe even like mix like a little bit of silver paint into your blue. That'll give it like a pretty shimmer. Or at the end, you can even go back over it and add some glitter. So if you have like extreme glitter at home or something like that, you can just paint glitter over it. I wouldn't recommend putting glitter first because you don't want your canvas to be kind of like chunky and textured when you're trying to paint the snowflake. But I think that'll give it a really like sparkly and pretty effect that's kind of similar to this. All right, guys. So I also want to mention I have a hairdryer here. So I always have my hairdryer just so we want always try to keep this class in about an hour. Michael's asks us to keep it in about an hour. So I try to keep it at a good pace. I try to keep it so nobody's waiting around and, you know, people have a chance to keep up, but it is going to be in an hour. And Michael's always posts this class on their page after. So on michaels.com, you can find this class. It usually takes 24 to 36 hours for them to get it up. But you can go back and review this whole class so that you can pause it and, you know, rewind it however you need. So if you feel like you're getting a little behind, you're getting stressed, please don't stress because you can always go back and watch the recording of this and just continue to watch and ask questions and interact now while we're live. But yes, I have a hairdryer to kind of speed up the process. Okay. So to start, what we're going to do is we're going to base coat our canvas. So I'm going to grab some navy blue, put a little bit on my palette paper. And I'm also going to put a little bit of my wicker white. Just a little bit. You don't need much of that. I'm going to grab my 3/4 inch flat brush. So anything like this, if you got like an angle brush or anything similar to this size, that'll work. And what I'm going to do, take my scrunchie off so I don't dip it in paint. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some of my navy blue and I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to go left and right. And I'm going to go back and forth, starting from the top, going down. And the reason we're going to do this is because we're going to create sort of an ombre effect. It's a little bit subtle here, but you can see the top of the painting is a little bit lighter than the bottom of the painting. It's a little tricky to see on camera, but in real life, it's very pretty. So we're going to start doing an ombre effect. We're going to start adding our navy blue to our canvas. Again, I'm going left and right. I try to keep going in the same direction whenever I'm base coating something. And that just sort of keeps the paint looking smooth and it prevents brush strokes. But as you can see, we're going to end up blending some white into this. So that's why we're kind of going back and forth and keeping it really smooth and even. Nothing fancy here. You can see I'm going right off the edges. I'm trying to stop in the middle because when you stop in the middle, that's when you kind of get those little marks, the little brush marks. So I try to go fully from left to right. And we're just going to keep going all the way down our canvas and cover the whole thing in navy blue. Nothing fancy, just base coating, going left and right. And again, I'm using my 3/4 inch flat brush. A 1 inch will work, a 2 inch, whatever you got, guys. Grab some more paint. Hope you guys are all home, relaxing, enjoying your Monday night, taking a little second to just sort of be with yourself and turn your brain off and do something fun.
Yeah, it's a great way to do something for yourself. Like you said, it's you time, me time.
Yeah. It's fun to, you know, get on with a friend too. You guys can do these together. But I like painting, you know, painting's for me. That's why I like to paint it. It's just something that you can just sort of do for yourself.
And Sabrina wants to know if she can change the canvas size. She said, can the canvas be 11 by 14?
Absolutely. So I would recommend if you don't have, or if you're doing a bigger size canvas, if you have a bigger sheet of paper, that would be better. Like if you have maybe like a sheet of newsprint or something, that would be good. Because you want to try to have your little printer paper that we're going to use later. This is going to make our template. You want it to be, you know, almost as big as your canvas, or you can tape a couple pieces of paper together. But just something to think about. If your canvas is bigger than this one, you maybe want to have a little bit of a bigger piece of paper. And again, I'm just going back and forth. I'm going a little bit quickly because I want it to stay wet because like I said, we're going to be blending white into it. So we don't want it to dry too fast. So that's why we're going a little bit quickly for this, just so our, you know, it's nothing fancy, just so our paint stays wet as we go.
Couple questions. Was your canvas primed?
Yes, my canvas was primed, not by me. So most canvases at Michael's and really in any of the craft stores come primed from the manufacturer. So I would show you the bottom of it, but so here, if you look at this canvas, I don't want to spoil it, but you see how this canvas is sort of a tan color. This is the raw canvas, and you can see when it's wrapped around the edges, it's white. That's because this canvas is primed. It has a white like gesso or primer on it. So the canvas looks like this, but we have the primer comes on it from the factory. So of course you can get like an unprimed canvas, in which case you would probably want to prime it. But it's hard to find those in craft stores, really. Most likely your canvas, if it came like pure white, it is already primed.
And you could probably use any color canvas, right? You could use a black canvas to start. Like, okay.
Yeah, black canvas, you probably use even less paint. You might not even paint the navy blue if you would rather have the black background. That'll totally work.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. All right, so while it's still wet, guys, I have the same brush. I ended up rinsing it off, but you really don't need to. Same brush, I'm gonna pick up some white and I'm gonna start blending that into the top. So a little bit of my Wicker white. I'm gonna start just following exactly what I did, left and right. Start blending downwards. So we want it to be lighter at the top and then get darker to that pure navy blue color as it goes down, just to give it a little bit of interest. Going down. You can see I'm keeping it really smooth. I'm trying really hard not to start or stop in the middle. I'm trying to continue that white all the way down.
And are you using a dry brush or did you put some water on there?
I have not put any water on it. Acrylic, paint is water-based. So if you feel like you need to dip your brush in a little bit of water, if you feel like your brush is starting to drag and maybe your paint is drying out a little bit, feel free to just dunk it in a little bit of water. You don't want too much because you don't want to start lifting your paint back up off the canvas. But yeah, feel free to just use a little bit. You don't want to dilute the paint or anything like that, but a little bit will help it just sort of glide a little more easily, especially if you're in like a dry area. If it's a dry time of year when you're painting or something like that, it definitely helps. You can see I'm sort of just keeping the white to the top half because I want it to look lighter at the top. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean my brush. I'm gonna give you guys a second to go ahead and finish base coating the back of your background. Not the back of your canvas, the front of your canvas, the background of your painting.
And guys, I see a couple questions about, if you can use this or you can use that, paper, paint, really use what you have on hand. And if you don't have supplies on hand, then you can go to michaels.com or you can visit a Michaels store and get your supplies. But you can absolutely use what you have on hand.
Yes, what Lindsay said. I know people are having some trouble getting craft supplies right now. So I really am a firm believer that whatever you have at home, if you're a painter, you most likely have, all of the colors you need to mix the rest of the colors in the rainbow. So please pop in the chat if you have questions, if you need to mix a color that you don't have. It's a little tricky tonight because we are using some specialty paints, but I'm going to try my best to help you substitute to get this painting to look the way you want it. All right, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit it with my hairdryer. And when I use the hairdryer on my paintings, I usually go on like the full, like the highest air setting, like the highest air pressure, and then I switch between the hot and cold. dry, and that feels pretty good to me. You guys, just a second to catch up. Get yours nice and dry before we go on to the next step.
And again, if you don't have supplies, you can just watch along tonight, and then you can rewatch on michaels.com at the Michaels Community Classroom. This is recorded, so you can go back and watch at your leisure whenever you have supplies to work with.
Definitely. And I love when you guys paint along. Truly, it's so fun. I love that you guys are painting live with me. But I personally, when I'm learning something new and I'm watching a live tutorial, I just like to watch it and sort of interact and make sure that I'm sort of, absorbing the information and ask questions as I go and really focus. And then I go back and I watch the recording of it and I do whatever the project is then, whether it's painting or macrame or whatever it is that I'm trying to learn. So just something to think about. I kind of just like to watch it live, like I said, and really like get to interact with the instructor. And then, like I said, go back later and just get to pause and rewind however much I need to. But again, I also love when you guys paint live. So both are good.
And we definitely have some repeat viewers because Angela says, Jessie usually says she flips back and forth between the hot and cold until it's dry. She's so right.
Yes, Angela,
Yay.
I do that.
And we're so glad that you guys are enjoying these and that you continue to watch. We love painting along with you.
I know, we have so much fun. Monday's my favorite night. All right, guys, so let's move along. Since my canvas is nice and dry now, it's time to use the Dragonfly Glaze. So again, if you don't have this at home, please don't stress. You can still make a really beautiful snowflake. But if you were able to get your hands on this, or if you can in the future, I highly recommend it because it's really fun to use. So I kind of mentioned before, if you don't have this, maybe mix some silver into your blue if you've got like a nice metallic, or maybe use a little bit of a fine glitter to get sort of a similar shimmer. But we are using the Dragonfly Glaze in red, violet, blue shift. So I'm gonna put some of that on my palette. And you'll see that it is, oops, oh, it's sealed. You've got to get the thing off. I didn't realize this was a new bottle. Usually I use them all. Okay, so once you open the seal, you will see when you pour it onto your palette or your plate or whatever you're using that it is clear. And like I said, that's because it is a top coat. So you see it's white and it goes on pretty clear. It's a little bit milky, but it dries clear. And that's because it's not a paint. If you were to just paint this onto something, it would just make it sparkly. It wouldn't give it any color. So I'll show you what I mean. But I'm just using my 3/4 inch flat brush and I'm doing the same thing. I'm gonna start at the top and go back and forth so I get a nice even coat. And you can see it's a little bit milky, the base, but when it dries to a super clear base. And you just see those little particles that catch the light and change the color depending on the way the light is hitting it. It's really, really pretty.
Amy would like to know, can we add the glaze later as an actual top coat?
Absolutely you can. Just keep in mind that your snowflake will be, dragonfly glazed too, but I mean, what's wrong with that? Nothing.
I mean, I love Dragonfly Glaze. That's my favorite.
You're going to want to paint it on everything. So when you go to the store, maybe get 2 bottles.
Or 3. I mean, speaking from personal experience.
I know, it's so fun. So you can see already, it's a little bit milky, but we're starting to see that shift in the light. Can you guys see that? How all the different colors are in there, making it sort of iridescent. Ugh, so fun.
Now, Emily has a good idea. She says, if we can't find this Dragonfly Glaze, can we use glitter Mod Podge that also dries clear?
Totally you can, yeah. Like I said, if it's like, depending on which Mod Podge you're talking about, because there's like the sparkle and then there's the mega glitter. If you're using like a really chunky glitter, I would put it on after because you don't want to have to paint the snowflake over that texture. But if it's like a very fine glitter, if it's like the Mod Podge shimmer or something, totally use that instead of the Dragonfly Glaze. That's a really great idea because it's a very fine glitter and it really most likely won't make any texture on your canvas. But I love that, yeah. We are the makers of Mod Podge too, in case you didn't know that. We make FolkArt and Mod Podge products. So we love us some Mod Podge.
And we have a lot of smart viewers who are coming up with ideas for things they can use instead. And
I love that, guys.
They're still plaid products.
Yeah, we love that more.
All of these at Michaels.
Yes. And we do a lot of these classes. We do these Monday nights, guys, but we also do a lot, just like during the day, a couple times a week, we do a lot of these Michaels Community Classroom classes, and we do a lot of Mod Podge on those. So keep an eye out whenever you see that Plaid Crafts is doing a class. It might be Mod Podge, or it might be, you know, our fabric creations paint. But we have a lot of fun doing these classes, and you can definitely get in on some really cool Mod Podge projects and techniques. So keep an eye out for those as well. I think we've got a Mod Podge one on Wednesday. I can't remember the time off the top of my head, but Emma, one of our content creators, is going to be making some inspirational journals for the new year. To write all of your goals and aspirations for 2021. And we Mod Podging and putting really cute quotes on the front and really pretty papers. So make sure you guys check that out on Wednesday. I think the listing is already up. So
I believe it's at 4, but check the listing.
4 p.m. I know we always get it mixed up. We're Eastern Standard Time, but then Michael's headquarters is Central Time. We're always getting the times mixed up. So yes, make sure you check it for your time zone.
And can you tell us one more time which Dragonfly Glaze color you used?
Yes, I have to look. I can't even remember. They're all so pretty. Red, violet, blue shift. So that means that it switches, like I said, from red to violet to blue. But yes, it comes in a bunch of different ones, and they're all colors like that. So it tells you exactly which colors it shifts to. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna dry it just the same way that I dried my paint. And it takes a little bit to dry because, like I said, it does have a milky base. But look at that. You can already see how shiny it is. Isn't that so pretty?
Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous.
I'm just going to go ahead and keep drying it because I don't want it to be tacky when we go to start transferring our template onto it that we're going to make. So don't stress. There's no printing. Okay, so it's pretty dry. It's still, like I said, a little bit tacky. But look at that shine. Look at that, guys. It is so shiny.
It's beautiful. Isn't
that so cool? I'm going to set this aside for now because we are going to start making our template for the snowflake. So we're going to let that dry a little bit more. And we're going to start with our template. I got Dragonfly Glaze everywhere. I'm not mad about it. Okay, so now it comes, like I said, I know a lot of people were confused about it. And to be honest, I made the supply list a couple months ago. When I went back and read it, I was like, did I need to have a template? But I did not. I did have a plan for this. So what you need is a piece of scrap paper. And you want it to be, you know, substantial to the size of your canvas. So I have a 10 by 10 canvas. I have just regular 8.5 by 11 printer paper. So it covers most of the canvas. There's some edges around it, but you really want your paper to be as big as you want your snowflake to be. So you can see mine reaches all the edges of my snowflake. So this is a good size for me. If you have a larger canvas, you're going to want a larger piece of paper, or you may want to tape a few pieces together because you do want it to cover where you want your snowflake to be on your canvas. So that's it. We're doing a little bit of like origami here. Not really, but we're doing some paper folding. So everybody pay attention real quick. If you're drying your canvas or if you're still base coating, just go ahead and look up because I don't want anybody to get behind because of this part because it really is simple. So I've got my paper here. It's a rectangle. Everybody can see the edges. I'm going to fold down the corner. So this edge is going to meet this edge here. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to fold it down so those two edges met. See, my right edge is going down to meet my bottom edge. And I want those to be flush. So it looks just like that. So this is what we have here. I got glitter all over my paper. Okay, so all we did was we took the top corner We want the right edge to fold down and meet this edge here. It's like you're going to make a paper airplane. If you ever did that, that's kind of what we're about to go for. So that's what we want. And then this one, we want to just fold this over because we don't really need this. So if you have scissors, you can just sort of like cut this flap off, but it doesn't matter. It can stay, but if you've got scissors, you can even just like tear it off carefully because we don't need this part. This is just extra. I'm just kind of like getting rid of that so we can forget about it. So what I have here is a triangle, right? I have a perfect square and it's folded in half diagonally. That's what I've got here. Everybody see? Okay, so it's folded diagonally. So now what we're going to do, we're going to fold it in half again. So we have another triangle. We've got a smaller triangle here. We're just folding it into quarters. And then one more time, we are going to fold it in half. So you guys, when you were little, did you ever make those paper snowflakes where you folded it this way and then you cut out all the pieces and then you opened it up and you had all the beautiful holes in it? It looked like a snowflake and you hung it in your window. That's basically what we're doing without the cutting. So we're gonna get a template from this. So I'm gonna do it one more time really quick to show you guys. Make sure you guys are checking it out. So everybody take a look. So I started with my printer paper here, right? This is how I started. I had my full piece of printer paper. I want this right side to come down and meet my bottom edge. So I folded that down like that. See that? I folded it down like that. And then I don't need this part here. This is extra now, so I just tore it off and we can get rid of that. If you have scissors, obviously that's better. So now I've got my nice little triangle here. I'm gonna fold it in half again. So I've got another triangle, a smaller one. So now I've got an even smaller triangle and I'm going to fold it in half again. So we're just folding it in half and folding it in half until we get this little shape, which I sort of compared it to those snowflakes you used to make when you were little, paper snowflakes, or you can still make them. I know a lot of adults are beautiful for the winter time to put in their windows. So we're kind of making that paper snowflake shape where now you would normally cut out all the holes and make a paper snowflake. We just want to have the folds because that is what's going to tell us where to put our snowflake pieces. So I'm going to open it back up. And what I have now is perfectly, I know it's hard to see, is perfect straight lines. I didn't have to measure that are going to tell me exactly where my little snowflake arms are going to go. So here, I'm going to just trace the lines just where the folds are with my pencil so you guys can see it better, which you can do it at home too, just to make it a little easier. I'm just going over the folds of our paper. So see guys, this is our snowflake template. You can see here where all of our little arms go out, that is where our folds are. So now we can just transfer this onto our canvas and we know exactly where it's gonna have a perfectly symmetrical snowflake. And it was super easy to do. You didn't have to pull out your ruler or anything like that. I hate having to measure stuff when I'm painting. You see that? So this is gonna be our template. So if your canvas is dry, you can go ahead and transfer that now. If you don't know how to transfer it, or if your canvas is still wet, hang on and we will get to that. I am going to go ahead and finish, mine's still a little tacky. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna finish drying mine as well. You just want it to be really dry before you start pressing your papers onto it because it'll just get sticky and you don't want your papers to stick to the canvas and that sort of thing. So just to check in, guys, I'm just continuing to dry my canvas. We just want to make sure it's nice and dry before we put our template on it. So just in case anybody wasn't paying attention and was like, where'd you go? We're just drying our canvases. right, so that's good enough for now.
And just for those who may not have joined us before, you like to alternate between the hot setting and the cool setting, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I have it on like the highest, air pressure, whatever that is for your hair dryer. And then mine has this, which most do have this little cool blast. So I start with hot, and then I feel like my painting's getting a little bit warm. I switch to the cool for a while and cool it down, and then back to hot, and I kind of go back and forth until my painting is dry.
Awesome. We do have one quick question.
Oh yeah.
Is transfer paper the same as graphite paper?
Yes, it is. Those are the same thing. Yeah. So this is kind of like a graphite sort of substance on it. And I didn't say this before, but a great hack. So if you don't have transfer paper, this is what you can do. Take your little template here that we just made and turn it over and grab either a pencil or a piece of chalk, works really well. And you want to cover the whole thing in pencil, which might take a second. It'll be quicker in chalk. Cover the whole thing. And that sort of acts as that substance that can get transferred down. So if you don't have this graphite paper or transfer paper, whichever it is that you're using, that's a good way to do it. I recommend chalk though, because this is a dark background. You'll be able to see it better if you have like white chalk and just cover the whole thing. So yeah, just a little trick. All right, any questions? Any more questions, Lindsay?
That's all so far. Everybody's enjoying this project.
Awesome, yay. Okay, so let's get to transferring. So just grabbed a little piece of tape here. I'm going to put my transfer paper face down. Just be trying to make sure it's covering all the areas where I kind of know my snowflake is going to be, So I know my snowflake's not go that far, so I'm just going to kind of stick it there. Just want to tack it down. And then I'm going to take my template that we just made by folding the paper, and I'm going to tack that into place as well. So I'm going to try to get it to be nice and straight on my canvas, as straight as I can kind of see. I'm just going to eyeball it. You guys know I like to eyeball stuff. And I'm going to tack that down as well. So this is what I've got. I've got my dry canvas, and then I put my transfer paper. Make sure you have the graphite substance facing down, and then I've got my template over it. So make sure you guys have yours set up like mine. And then once you do that, you want to grab a stylus or a ballpoint pen or just the other side of your paintbrush, and you're going to trace over the lines so that it transfers the chalky graphite substance onto your canvas. So it doesn't matter if it has ink or not. All you need is that pressure. So a lot of times I'll use a ballpoint pen just because then I can see which lines I went over, especially if I have like a very complicated pattern. But obviously this one's not that complicated. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to use the end of my paintbrush, and I'm going to use like a medium pressure, and I'm going to trace my lines of my template that I just made. And I'm just pressing down on it so that chalky substance will transfer onto my canvas. And I'm kind of holding my paper. I'm going to make sure it doesn't slide around. You can go back over it twice, and I can kind of check, did it transfer? Oh, yep, it transferred all right. Oh, you can't see it. So here, I'll show you guys. See, I've got that line now. That is the chalky part. You can even see where it kind of separated from the transfer paper, where those lines pulled off, and you can keep this and use it multiple times. But now I have this nice, perfect snowflake template on my canvas. It's perfectly even. We didn't even have to use a ruler. Can you believe it? But it's nice and symmetrical, because snowflakes are really always symmetrical. That's kind of the beauty of it. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you just a second to catch up. Make sure you all have your snowflake transferred to your canvas.
And now if you're using FolkArt graphite paper, transfer paper, yep, it says this side up, so you know which side to put down.
Exactly. That's what this one is here. I can show you guys. So see here, it says on it, you probably can't even see it, but in the corner, Lindsay's right, it says this side up, so you know which way to put it. Because sometimes it's a little bit tricky to kind of figure out which side has the chalky stuff on it. But yeah, the FolkArt one says this side up, which is super helpful.
Yes. I mean, you can feel it a little bit, but it's nice to have that printing on there to know.
Sometimes I second guess myself. or I definitely have done it. Like, I'm like, oh, I felt the chalky, and I put it down, and then I'm like, where'd my pattern go? And I had it upside down.
Yes. It's so nice to have the printed FolkArt transfer paper.
Yes, they definitely were thinking of everything when they came up with that one.
Definitely.
All right, guys. So like I said, I've got my background all painted. We've got our template transferred. I've got my nice, perfectly symmetrical template on here. And we're gonna start painting our snowflake. So the color we're gonna start with is our FolkArt Wicker White. So just any white acrylic paint is fine. I've already got some on my palette here, so I'm not gonna add any more, but if you need to add some, go ahead and do that now. And then I'm gonna grab like a liner brush or like a medium round brush. This is a number 4 round brush. So anything that like looks similar to this will work. If you've got, even like if you have a little flat brush, you can just, you know, use it sideways and use it on the narrow end to get a thin line. So anything that looks similar to this will work. I'm gonna dip in just a little bit of water, not a ton, just enough to sort of soften the bristles. And I'm gonna pick up some of my Wicker White, and I'm just gonna carefully follow along the lines that we just transferred. It doesn't need to be perfect. So we're gonna add so many pretty and fun details and stuff that it's gonna kind of cover up any imperfections, because I know not everybody has the most steady hand. That's totally fine. You don't need to have a, you know, a surgeon's hand to be able to paint well, for sure. So we're just gonna try our best to get a nice thin line using the tip of our brush. And we're just gonna follow that template. Just gonna follow those lines. And kind of think about it too. You might not want to go all the way to the edges with your lines. You kind of want to have that round shape of your snowflake. So kind of think about where you're ending each of your lines when you're tracing over this template.
And every snowflake is different, so you don't have to overthink it either.
100%. There's no 2 snowflakes that are the same. That's really the beauty of it, that everyone is perfect.
What brush size are you using again?
I have a number 4 round brush, but any liner brush or small round brush will totally work. And I'm just trying my best to use the very tip of it to get as thin a line as I can. It doesn't have to be like, you know, the thinnest line in the world or anything. We just don't want it to be super thick and chunky. I want it to be a little bit delicate. And again, you can see here, we're gonna add so much shapes and details that if you have a little oopsie here and there, do not stress about it. Don't worry about covering it up, because you can just cover it up with one of these shapes. Don't stress about trying to like paint the background and fill in around it or anything like that. Going as steady as it can, and feel free to sort of, you know, move your canvas around if it's more comfortable for you, so you don't, you know, drag your hand through. It's really nice to steady your hand on your canvas when you're painting like this and trying to be careful. So if you need to move your canvas, you need to sort of turn it, feel free to do that.
Yes, that's one thing Andy Jones always tells us is turn your canvas if you need to.
Yep, absolutely. I always do. I try to always keep it pretty still when I'm teaching, just so people don't get confused. But when I'm painting at my desk, man, my canvas is all over the place.
And if you're not familiar with Andy, he teaches a lunch and learn on our Let's Paint with Plaid Facebook group every Tuesday and Thursday at noon Eastern time. So be sure to join us there. We would love to have you. He
also teaches these sometimes too. He was here a couple weeks ago. So if you guys have tuned in and you saw our friend Andy, he's awesome. It's just a totally different style of teaching, totally different experience, but he's an absolute wealth of knowledge when it comes to painting. So whether you're a beginner or whether you've been painting your whole life, I bet you anything you're going to learn a few things from Mr. Andy Jones.
We're blessed to have so many good painters here at Plaid. We have Jesse, we have Andy, we have Kirsten, we have Donna, we have Chris. We have so many amazing painters. So
imagine a paint company.
I know. But I mean,
we just like magnetized this place.
You guys are amazing, all of you.
Thanks, Lindsay. You're sweet. All right. So as you can see here, all I did was I just transferred my pattern let me start over. All I did was I went over my transfer lines with paint. And as you can see here, like I said, like I kind of stopped there because I was trying to keep sort of a round snowflake shape. I didn't want it to get boxy. So that's like some of the pattern that's showing, but leave that for now. We can go back with water later and just sort of remove that. So I'm not worried about it right now. Don't try to like paint over it because you could mess up the finish of the background. Just leave it for now. Okie dokie. So the next thing we're gonna do, we're going to grab our number 4 round brush, which is the one we were just using to paint our lines. And I'm going to mix some navy blue with the tiniest touch of wicker white. So navy blue and wicker white, it's the only 2 of the acrylic paints we have here tonight. And we're getting sort of, we want to keep it pretty dark, but it's going to be a little bit lighter than our background. We don't want it to be that dark. So you can see here I have like a nice pretty, I guess it's sort of a medium blue really. But it doesn't need to be exactly like mine. You just want it to be, we're going to paint sort of these shapes here. You just want it to be lighter than the background. That's what's really important here for this. So don't worry about getting the exact right blue. We just want it to be lighter than what we've got. Just mixing, adding a little bit more white as I feel like I need it. Okay. So whenever I mix paint with my brush on my palette, I always rinse off my brush. I don't want to, you know, when you mix your brush, you get tons of paint on the brush, way more than you need to paint on your canvas. So whenever I mix with my brush, I always rinse it off in my water basin because you don't want to be bringing that much paint onto your canvas. You just don't have as much control over where the paint is going. So I always like to clean my brush off before I actually start painting on my canvas. Okay. So we're going to start adding all of these really cute shapes and stuff that kind of make it look like a really detailed, ornate snowflake. So I'm going to kind of encourage you, if you feel comfortable, to kind of come up with your own design. I'm going to follow this design that I did originally. And of course, you're more than welcome to do the same design as me. But like I said, if you feel like you're comfortable doing it, I really encourage you to come up with your own snowflake design because, you know, like I said, like Lindsay said, every snowflake is different. No snowflake is the same. So I think it's kind of fun if all of our snowflakes look a little bit different. But that said, really don't stress about it. And if you feel like you just want to follow mine, that is awesome too. Okay, so it's really important when you're doing your snowflake design to just make sure that it's symmetrical. And just in case you're not sure what that means that it's the same on either side. It's mirrored. So you have a line in the middle and both sides are identical. That's what symmetrical is. So you just want to make sure that both sides are the same. And that's kind of how you make your snowflake look really, you know, snowflakey. I don't know. So I have my nice medium blue and I have my number 4 round brush. And I'm going to start by adding, I've got these little football shapes sort of at the tips of each of my little arms of my snowflake. And all those are, it's just like I said, like it's almost like a flower petal. Here, I'll show you here. It's like that shape. Super simple, nothing crazy. But they're sort of at the tip of each of the snowflake little lines. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add those now. And when you get to your canvas, if you feel like, see my blue is like really similar to my background, I'm going to go ahead and add a little more white because I really want to be able to see the difference. I didn't add enough white when I was mixing it clearly because it looks just the same as my background. I thought I did, but it turns out I didn't, and that's okay. So now a little bit more white to make sure you can see the difference. And again, I'm going to rinse my brush off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in my little football shapes to the end of each of my little snowflakes arms. Just using the tip of my brush. And I'm going right over the line. You can see here. Can you see that, Lindsay?
Yes, we can see
going, I'm using the line as my guide so I know where to put it. I'm just going right to the end with my little football.
And that's navy blue and wicker white?
Yep, navy blue and wicker white. You just want a nice medium blue that's lighter than your background. Do my little football shape on the end of each snowflake.
And again, any dark blue and any white is fine.
Totally. Whatever you've got at home is totally fine. Even black would be pretty for this. You have like a very dramatic night sky.
Yeah, you could really do this in any color palette and it would be beautiful.
Purple would be pretty. Ooh, that would be really pretty.
Yes.
Okay, so you guys can see I have my snowflake shape and then I have all my little footballs on the edges of each of my little snowflake arms. None of these are what the pieces of snowflake are actually called, but hopefully you guys are still following along.
They are.
Good.
I can see everyone painting and they are following along just perfectly.
Awesome. So once I have these guys, I'm just going to go ahead. I haven't cleaned my brush. I'm just going to go ahead and fill them in so they're solid. So we've kind of got the outline of each of them. I just want them to be solid shapes. So I'm just going to go back and fill all those guys in.
And again, this would be really cute, I think, as like a gallery wall where everyone in the family paints a different snowflake.
Oh, I love that.
I see a lot of girls painting tonight who are my daughter's age.
Oh, that's
So
fun.
that made me think, what if, you know, we all painted a snowflake that was unique to us and then made it a gallery wall?
That would be super cute. Put up in the winter time. I love that idea. I love the idea of everybody's snowflakes being unique.
Me too.
So again, feel free to do your own design, use mine as inspiration, the shapes that I'm painting. But again, just make sure it's symmetrical. That's all that really matters. So it ends up looking super perfect and snowflakey. Okay, so this is what yours should look like. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna continue sort of doing something similar to this, but we're gonna add sort of diamond shapes. But we're only gonna add them to the diagonal ones. So as you can see here, I've got these 4 diamond shapes and they're only on the diagonal, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and add those 4 right now. And they're kind of in the middle of each, so I'll show you. I've got a diamond on this guy. Hold it up so you guys can see better. That's the diagonal one. I've got a diamond here. So you can see better. I've got a diamond here. Again, I'm just doing it on the diagonal ones. And really it's a square when you're looking at it, you know, right side up. But if you were to turn it this way, it would be a diamond. That's why I'm saying diamond. And then a little diamond on this guy.
And does it have to look symmetrical?
I mean, mine obviously isn't perfect. What's gonna make it look symmetrical is that you have the same shapes on either side. That's what's gonna help it be symmetrical. As you can see, I did the best I could to space it out as well as I can, but I'm not doing any measuring. I'm not breaking out a ruler for this. So I'm just sort of eyeballing it. And when it comes together at the end, it really will look symmetrical.
Yes. So most snowflakes are symmetrical, but this is our interpretation. So it can be a little, yes, it can be our own.
Yep. And then I'm gonna fill these in.
Denise had a good idea. She said we could do a red and pink one for Valentine's Day.
Oh my gosh, so cute. I love that. We are actually going to be starting, we're gonna do a couple Valentine's Day paintings for Michael's. We're gonna be starting our Valentine's content for them next week for our paint night. So make sure you guys stick around to the end of this live because I will be debuting. It'll be me again. Hopefully you're not sick of me yet. I'll be here teaching our first Valentine's painting with Michael. So make sure you stick around because I'm going to show you guys that when we're done.
We all love you, Jessie.
Thanks, Lindsay. All right, so I'm just filling in those guys. And you can see, really, they're not perfect. I don't want you guys to be like stressed out about this at all. Just whatever you do to one side, make sure you do it to the reverse. That's what's important. Okay, so the last shape we're gonna do that's kind of similar, just kind of what we're doing here, are these sort of like elongated diamonds right in the center. So all it is, it's like the short side on the outer facing edge and then the long side going in. Oops. So the short side and the long side going in. So I'll kind of show you how I did that. I'm gonna follow these as our guides. It's so shiny. I feel like you can't even see it on the camera. The background's so shiny.
We can see it. It looks amazing.
Okay, I'm afraid you guys can't even see the painting. All right, so I'm gonna start here and do sort of a short edge, and then it's gonna go long into the center. So it's sort of like a crystal shape. And then I'm gonna do the same thing here, short edge. And this is gonna be on the reverse one. So this is the up and down facing arms of our snowflake. Here it's going to be just like that again. And again, if it helps you to turn your painting around, because it gets kind of confusing being like, oh, trying to mirror it, trying to visualize how it's going to look in the opposite. So it's really helpful to kind of turn it around like this. If you got like a lazy Susan, that would be awesome too. You just kind of like turn it around as you're painting to make sure that's the same. Just paint it, turn, paint it, turn, paint it, turn. And then you can make sure that they're all, you know, similar. So it should look like that. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to fill them in.
And can you just recap what colors you're using?
Yeah, so this is just, it's about 1 part navy blue, 1 part wicker white. Perfect. You just want to make sure it's a blue that's lighter than your background so you can see it against the background.
We have lots of good options for alternate colors like
Love it.
Red and green and gold and silver for Christmas.
Oh my God, love that.
Like, yes.
I love that idea.
Lots of creative people watching.
Yes, I love that. I love when everybody helps each other in the chat. That's so fun.
Yes, me too.
So give you guys just a second to catch up. Make sure we're all together.
And again, if you don't have supplies, you can visit michaels.com or a Michaels store to find the paints that Jesse's using tonight. Mm-hmm. Or if you have something on hand, please use that. We just want you to paint along with us and enjoy.
Absolutely. Yep. We just want everybody to have fun. Take some time for yourself on Monday nights. Mondays are always stressful. No matter what you do or where you are, they're just the most stressful day of the week. So take a little time to decompress on Monday night and paint with us.
Yes.
Okay. So now I have all of my sort of bulkier shapes painted in. So what we're going to do is we're going to start adding some of these pretty little white details. And again, it's just really important to keep in mind that whatever you do on one side, you do on the other side. So just make sure it's all just really symmetrical. It's symmetrical if you have it this way, and it's symmetrical if you turn it this way. So just make sure that you're repeating whatever it is that you're doing. So that said, I'm actually going to grab some fresh wicker white because I have a lot of blue in mine here. So I'm grabbing some wicker white. So any white acrylic paint will work. And I'm going to hang on to my number 4 round brush. So anything that looks similar to this. And we are going to start painting some fun little details. So again, I really encourage you guys, if you feel comfortable to, make your own details and make your snowflake really unique. But again, like I said, feel free to follow my design. All right, so I'm going to start in the center, and I'm going to start highlighting some of these blue shapes that we just made. So I'm going to sort of highlight the undersides. By that I mean I'm going to paint the edges of these long triangles here. So I'm just sort of painting the undersides of those to give it a little bit more detail. You see, I'm just painting the undersides of those. It's really not fancy. Oops. Just highlighting those. It's kind of hard to paint above my head. And then I'm going to highlight the sides of these here. Just giving it a little white here and there, just to kind of make it pop, to make it really stand out against the background. And I'm going to keep turning it as I go. Just sort of giving it little V's on the edges. Again, you can see how fast I'm going, and that's because you really don't want to spend too much time on it. It does need to be perfect. If you have it all symmetrical at the end, it'll look perfect, even if your lines are a little bit messy. So don't stress about it.
And no one's going to come in with a ruler. They're just going to be like, that's a beautiful painting.
Right. No rulers involved. I've done that before where I've tried to teach classes with rulers, and I'm like, now measure 2 inches to the right and make a mark, and then go 4 inches up. And like, that's not fun for anybody. It's not fun for me. It's not fun for you guys. Like, It's so much more fun to just do it by hand.
Yes.
Even if it's not as tidy when we're done, it just is, it's more fun that way.
And it's so much more personal.
And you learn more, really, when you do it yourself.
Yes, agree.
Okay. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do some little lines coming out sort of underneath those squares. Again, just sort of adding detail here and there to make it look really full and really ornate. If you guys can see the front view, you can see how crazy I look painting like this. I just want to make sure you guys can see it because it's so shiny you can't even see the canvas.
You're doing great, Jessie.
Thanks. I'm always doing the craziest stuff in these classes. Okay. I'm going to add some lines. I'm trying to refer back to my original design just because I made it up as I go, which was a fun part. So feel free to do the same. I'm going to add some lines here, just sort of going across my original lines on the diagonal ones, sort of making it into a little bit of a plus sign. Again, just whatever you do to one, make sure you do it to the others. That's the important part. I'm gonna do the same thing for my little football shapes. I'm gonna add some little highlights to those, the tops and bottoms, sort of painting the edges so they really pop off the canvas.
And that's really making a big difference as to what we can see on camera.
Yeah, it's totally making it come to life. Like any little details you add, like I said, you can see my brush strokes are, I kind of, you know, like to keep my paintings tidy, but my brush strokes here tonight are not the neatest. But once you have all the details on there, you're not going to notice. It's going to look so elaborate and so ornate. All you're going to see is the symmetry of it. You're not going to see the brush strokes.
It's popping.
Thank you. And then I'm just going to add like little dashes and dots here and there. Again, just keeping it really symmetrical. So I'm going to add some bigger lines right here. So these are the ones that sort of connect to the longer diamonds, just to kind of give you a point of reference. I'm just kind of doing like a V off that line just to make that line a little more interesting. It's looking a little bare. And again, I'm just making sure I do it to each one. That's the important part. And then maybe I'll do little ones inside that. Or just right above it, I'm doing some more little V's. You can see I'm just kind of like holding it on my hand like I'm tossing a pizza and just turning it around as if my hand were like a lazy Susan. Just making sure I get each detail on every single one.
And for those of you who don't know, Jessie's dad is a chef, so she probably has some experience with pizza tossing.
We used to own an Italian restaurant. I've tossed many a pizza.
See, there you go. That's where you get it.
And it is much harder than it looks. Let me tell you. I don't know if you guys have tossed pizza before, like in movies and on TV and in like any pizza restaurant where they know what they're doing. They make it look so stinking easy, and it is really hard. It is not easy at all. That's funny. I have. All right. So I'm happy with like where my details are right now. So you can see I have like some of these like big dots here, which I love. We're going to add those now. And the way that I added those was using, I'm going to grab my bigger brush in my pack. So that's my 3/4 inch brush. And I'm going to use the back of that, the handle of it, as a stamp. So I'm just going to use it like a little stamp. I'm going to dip it in my white paint. And I'm going to start on the edges of each of my football shapes. And I'm going to go boop and make a little dot. It's just a really great way to do a perfect little circle with what you already have. You don't have to go buy any fancy stamps or anything like that, any daubers or anything. If you have daubers at home, feel free to use those, but this is a great way to make some perfect little dots. And then I'm going to go ahead and wherever I have these little bars or V's, I'm just going to add dots to the edges of them just because I like the way that it looks. Just some even more details to add to your painting. It's really going to make it come to life. You know what this is reminding me of when I was originally painting it? if you guys saw like the live action, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey, like in the beginning, it's like describing Whoville, and it's like on a tiny little snowflake, there's a little town called, and it shows like all the snowflakes falling, and it zooms in on that snowflake. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
That's what this is reminding me of. Like in the night sky, and it zooms in on that perfect, beautiful crystal snowflake, and that's where Whoville is.
Yes, you can imagine Whoville on this snowflake. I love it.
And then you can paint Whoville right there.
Yay!
Okay. All right, guys, so I'm happy with that. I like the way that looks. I'm happy with the amount of detail there is. But obviously we haven't used our beautiful color shift colors yet. So now we're gonna go ahead and we are going to add our color shift colors. Before we do that, I'm gonna remind you guys, so we've been flipping and flopping our painting all around. I'm just gonna remind you guys, remember when we were ombreing the background, we had the white or the lighter blue at the top. So make sure you have it back in your original orientation. So I can see this is my darker area, and I can see this is my lighter area. So I've got it back to originally how I want it. And the reason you want it to be that way is because we're not going to do so much turning around anymore, because it's kind of going to be how we sort of create our little formula of where we put the colors. Some colors are going to go on top, some colors are going to go on bottom, and so on. So that's why you just want to make sure that you have your painting back to its original orientation. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put all of my color shift colors down right now, just to kind of save time. So I've got my Aqua Flash, which is so pretty. I'm going to squirt a little bit out. You don't need a ton. You can see how beautiful and shiny it is. I've got my Purple Flash. Just a little bit. And then I've got my Blue Flash. And the great thing about these specialty paints is like they go a long way. Like you'll have these color shift and this Dragonfly for a long, long time. So it's like a nice little investment to add little details to your paintings.
Yes.
Okay, so again, I've got my 3 color shifts here. Did you say something, Lindsay?
Oh, I just said I agree. Like they go a long way. I've had mine for a long time and still rocking.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you only need to have a few bottles, sort of collect the set of them, and then you'll have them for a long time. Okay, cool. So I've got my 3 color shift colors, and then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab my number 4 round brush, which is just the little guy we've been using to paint our whole snowflake, really. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the blue. So this is the dark one here. It's sort of like a denim-y blue almost. It's very pretty. It shifts to pink. It's like pinky purple to dark blue. It's beautiful. So what we're gonna do is we're going to take that color and we're going to paint it on the underside of each of our blue shapes. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So if you're like a painter, or if you've painted with me even, we touch a little bit on like light sources and highlights and shadows. So we don't, go crazy with it, but we like to learn. So what I mean by that is we're going to sort of paint it as the shadow of our snowflakes. So you can see here, I'm going to go right on the underside of this above the white, and I'm going to paint a little V there. I know it's really tricky to see, but in person you can see it really well. Here, I'll show you in this one. I'm painting a nice little V on that guy. And it just is going to give it even more dimension. It's going to make it look so pretty. I'm going to paint it right there, just on the underside of each of these shapes. And you can see why I said to make sure you have it in the orientation you want it, because you don't want to switch it all around. You want them to be kind of consistent throughout the painting. So I'm doing on the underside of each of my shapes, just adding a nice, generous stroke of color shift. And again, we're using Blue Flash right now. And I'm just going on the underside of each of these little blue shapes we painted. So however you did yours, if you decided to go rogue and sort of do your own thing, do your own design, whatever, if you have hearts on yours or circles on yours, you can still do this same thing. Just make sure you're going on the underside of each of your shapes, whatever those may be. Just a nice generous strokes so we can see it. You can see it's already starting to get shifty.
So if you don't have the color shift paints and you put silver into your paint, how much should you put Like, what's the ratio of silver to another paint?
I would say like, I would do like 1-to-1.
Okay.
Yeah, I would do like 1-to-1 just because you want it to be like really shiny and like metallic looking. But of course you don't want to lose that color. So you kind of use your own judgment, but I would guess it's probably about a 1-to-1 ratio.
Okay.
All right, guys. So I added the color shift to the underside of each of these shapes. So now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to use my Aqua color shift, which is this light blue, and I'm going to add it to the top side of each of my shapes. So on the upper side of each of these blue shapes that we have, I'm going to add a generous stroke of my Aqua Flash. You can see how, isn't that so pretty? I just love these paints. I'm obsessed with color shift and Dragonfly and Treasure Gold.
All the shiny things.
All the shiny things, exactly.
Me too. I love those.
That's starting to look so dimensional, and it's just really simple.
And again, you could use different colors and make this snowflake for Valentine's Day or like really any time of the year that it's cold where you are.
It'd be so pretty in like pastels or like light
Yes.
blues, and like light blues and pinks would be so pretty. These the Dragonfly Glaze looks so beautiful on dark backgrounds. As you can see, it just really helps it catch the light, but it also looks so pretty on like pastel colors. It creates sort of like a pearly, like iridescent effect. I don't know, it's just so pretty. Angela, I saw that. I can see some comments popping up. I'm surprised too. I was trying to hold it back. I was trying to keep it to like a good budget for you guys for this supply list. Otherwise, I probably would have thrown some Treasure Gold in there.
Also gorgeous. Love Treasure Gold.
I know. Treasure Gold. I added to all my paint night paintings for one day. Went a little bit different this week. Okay, guys. So as you can see, we're really starting to sort of wrap up our painting. It's starting to look like the original one. So the last color we're going to add is going to be our purple shift. So what we're going to do for this one, we've already done the bottoms and we've already done the tops. We're going to go like on the bottoms again, but right above where we added that blue. So see, I'm going to go on where we can see it. So we're going to start on this one. You can see where the dark blue is. I'm going to go right above that with my purple. Can you guys see that? It's tough to see in the camera. I'm going to go right above the blue flash that we added. I'm going right above those lines with my purple. So it's kind of in the middle, but it is facing the bottom side. Just add some more color to each of them. I just love this purple. It kind of brightens it up.
We have some people who are now adding glitter.
Yes, I love that. I cannot wait to see the paintings.
I can't either. And remember, please hashtag plaid crafts so that we can see what you're painting. We would love to see your works of art.
Also, so many of you guys who have attended these Monday night classes with us have joined the Let's Paint with Plaid Facebook group. And so I get to see all of those paintings, you know, right after the class. A lot of you post them, but Tuesday morning is like my favorite thing to do is get up and get to work and get on Facebook and see all of the paintings from the night before and comment on them. I just love them so much. It's so fun to see what you guys did.
Yes. So again, hashtag plaid crafts, hashtag make it with Michaels. We can't wait to see what you're doing.
Yes. All right. So we're going to add a couple more little dots here and there with our white. So I'm going to use a smaller one now, my smaller brush, and I'm going to use the back as a stamp again with Wicker white. I'm going to add some dots to the bigger shapes. So I'm going to add 3 dots here. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to add 3 dots to my football shapes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's okay if it's still wet. Mine is, but I'm just going right over it. 1, 2, 3. Again, just adding more and more detail just to make it look really ornate. And then I'm going to add it to my long diamonds too. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And feel free to add as many or as little of these as you want. If you feel like you want yours to be super ornate, if you want yours to be a little more plain, it is totally up to you. It is your snowflake. Maybe we'll add some to this too. A little dot in each of our smaller triangle or diamonds. And then what we're gonna do, I'm gonna hang on to my brush. I've got my number 4 round brush. I'm going to add some sort of distant snowflakes in the background. So if you guys are familiar with something called fly specking, you can feel free to do that if you've got like a painting toothbrush around you. I know Andy loves the fly speck paintings, and that's basically where you take an old toothbrush and you dip it in paint and you rake your fingers across the toothbrush and it sort of just speckles everything with whatever color you're using. So if you're feeling sort of bold and that's something you've done before, by all means, grab your toothbrush and do it. I don't have a toothbrush here with me tonight, and I didn't put that on the supply list, so I'm not going to do that because I don't like to, I try not to, you know, pull surprises out for you guys, but you were prepared for. So we're just going to use the end of our paintbrush, and we are going to go in and we are going to just add some random spots here and there. And the more paint and the harder you press down, you know, the bigger and smaller your spots are going to be. So try to vary them a little bit. Do some like just barely touch your canvas and get some really tiny spots. You know, keep going, and the less and less paint you have, your spots will get smaller. But this is just going to kind of look like this snowflake is falling in a beautiful snowy night filled with all kinds of snowflakes in just a big flurry. And if you have silver, you do some silver too. That'd be really pretty. Just add even a little bit more shine. But we're just going to add them here and there. Again, you can add as many or as few of these as you want. It is totally up to you. And when you're finished, you want to make sure that you sign your painting, because that is the last step of our snowflake.
Beautiful.
Lindsay. Again, guys, make sure that you do post these with hashtag plaid crafts and hashtag make it with Michaels. We will be here again next Monday. And I will show you guys now what that's going to be. We're going to start our Valentine's Day paintings. This is a really fun one. I've been wanting to paint this for a long time. We are going to paint these really cute lollipops. So make sure to join us. We've got a Mod Podge class this Wednesday, so check that out. But also we'll be back next Monday, same time, same place, to paint these really cute lollipops. You can do it with a friend. You can paint it for a friend or for your Galentine maybe. But we're excited to get into Valentine's Day, and we will see you then. Bye, guys.